Welcome to Transforming and Thriving
with best friends Brooke, Stacie, and Neelia.
Podcast dedicated to women sharing their inspirational stories.
Hey there, everyone. We're thrilled to be back. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Stacie. And today we're privileged to have Katie Crecion as a guest on the show. Katie's story is one of true resilience and artistry. She is an example of a strong woman who has faced not only early adversity, but also adversity later in life, and she's never been deterred. She was abandoned at birth in Korea, adopted twice, and pressed forward with unwavering determination, turning challenges into fuel for success. Since then, she has built a successful career for herself as a celebrity brow specialist, with over 25 years of experience, starting in Seattle, then Oahu, and more recently moving to Beverly Hills to work with many entertainment industry personalities. She built her career as a makeup artist and esthetician, starting as a Mac Pro makeup artist before working alongside the legendary Anastasia Soiree for almost a decade. She opened her own salon boutique in Westlake Village, California in 2014, and recently launched the brand Kiki House of Beauty with her hero product, Kiki Balm. In the midst of this, Katie was diagnosed with breast cancer and emerged as a survivor, using her journey to inspire and uplift others.
Thank you so much for being here, Katie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me, ladies. I'm very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we wanted to dive right in. There's so many layers to your story and all the things that you've faced. But we wanted to see if you could walk us through maybe one or so of the major transitions that had such a great impact on you.
I would have to say that my diagnosis of breast cancer was such a monumental turning point for me in my life. I think a lot of people say that their cancer has been transforming. I feel like mine was transforming in a different way. For me, I felt like it caused me to pause more and to not, I guess when I was younger, I would always force myself and push myself. It actually made me slow down, which I think is a good thing. And I can tell you a little bit about how I found out I got cancer. I actually was diagnosed with inductile carcinoma, which is breast cancer.
Yeah, we'd love to hear more about that.
So when I was 36, I was working at Anastasia's, and I was surrounded by doctors there, obviously, the heart of plastic surgery town. And I had a good friend of mine that was a doctor, and his girlfriend. And I had actually, that previous night, felt a lump in my right breast. And I was talking to the girlfriend. I just said, I'm kind of worried. You got to go to the doctor. So I called my doctor and I said, I really think there's something going on and I'd love to go see a specialist. She did not agree. She was very kind of blasé about it, actually. She blew me off, really.
My goodness. Had you regularly done breast checks on yourself?
I did do breast checks on myself. I was told from a very young age that I had cystic breast tissue. And so it's very common to feel lumps.
Right.
But I felt like this was different. And after I had called her, I was reaching for something in my bathroom one morning. And at that point, I saw the tumor. I saw the legs of the tumor growing into different parts. Like the way that I moved, it really showcased it. And I called my doctor again and I said, I have to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I went in, she looked at it, she told me she thought it was nothing. And part of it based on my age and being Asian descent. But being an adoptee and not knowing my background, if any family members had cancer or not, I felt that I really needed to see a specialist. So she kind of hem and hawed and allowed me to get a ultrasound. That was her, oh, you can go for an ultrasound. We'll see how that goes.
Wow, it's so frustrating that you had to push that hard for yourself, but I'm so glad that you did. What happened next then?
So luckily, because I had pushed so hard, I did get in the next week with an ultrasound. And within probably 20 minutes, they came in and said, we need to do a mammogram and we're going to do some biopsies today. And of course, I was in complete shock.
Oh my gosh, I would be in complete shock too. And again, like Brooke just said, I would be so frustrated to have to advocate for yourself so much to even have those tests done and find out. Like, can you imagine if you hadn't?
I agree. It is strange that the day I was diagnosed with the actual kind of cancer that I had, I remember thinking, this is why I've had such a hard life. This is why I've gone through all this adversity before, for this moment here, for me to be able to survive cancer.
Wow, what a amazing perspective to take from that.
It's just something that I think for me, I walked into it without fear. There is an element of fear, but I really thought I just want to know and see and understand, and I'm just going to hit this head first. And that kind of was my attitude through the entire process.
I'm curious to hear more about what happened next. Like what happened next in this whole process for you?
So as I'm sitting there waiting for the doctor to come in, I did my mammogram and I said, I really want to see the films. She put them up and I looked, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how bright the tumor looked in the photo. And I looked at the doctor and I said, is there any chance that this looks like this and isn't cancer? And she said, nope. It was just very shocking that I had to push so hard to get to that point. Then she's like, let's do the biopsies. When I went in for the biopsies, I wanted to see the tissue. I wanted to know what it looked like, what the difference of fresh tissue from cancerous tissue looked like. And then the next day I was diagnosed I was almost stage 2. My tumor was 3 centimeters, which is the size of a golf ball.
Oh my goodness. What was treatment like for you? What was the protocol that you went through?
So treatment, I did 2 drugs. I was allergic to one of them, and so I had to be put on steroids after every round. I did 4 rounds of chemo. Working in Beverly Hills and being single, ladies. I was single and dating.
During this
Uh,
process?
during this
Oh
process,
my
I did
goodness.
not well, actually, I had just started dating somebody when I was diagnosed.
Mm.
And that was, which I'm sure a lot of cancer women who are in relationships could relate to this, is that the sicker I got, the more he became distant and kind of disappeared and then ended up blaming me. And so breaking it off, which was okay for me because I was like, ugh, who needs it? But yes,
Absolutely.
it was an interesting thing. I mean, the treatment was really pretty rough. Chemo was the hardest for me. Radiation was okay. So I had to do everything. I did chemo first. I did on my birthday, I had surgery to take the tumor out.
Oh
And
my God.
then I did radiation starting in January. And I shaved my head too because I just figured, why bother waiting for it? Let's just get it out of the way. So I bought bagels for everybody at the salon and said, I'm having a going away party for my hair. When you see me on Tuesday, I don't want to talk about it. And that was it.
Wow. So you really were proactive and kind of took charge and tried to create some sort of control in a situation where there's so many things that are out of your control. I think that's really admirable. I am so impressed by just how you handled that. And I can't imagine going through all of that while in the midst of a career and dating life. And I've heard chemo is just A very, very, very challenging process to go through on many levels. So I can't even imagine. I'm curious, how did you find strength and courage in some of those dark moments throughout this time for yourself?
I think I relied a lot on myself and my choice to choose to just do it. I was able to have like a little family come in and help me at certain times, but most of the time I was alone and I just thought, you know what, this isn't going to defeat me. And I know that I can survive this. I was really lucky that I never felt like I was going to die. I think most people, when they're diagnosed, have that brief moment of like, I'm not going to make it. I never had that. And I think maybe it was just my way of dealing with it is that I am going to live my life. I'm going to date. I'm going to be sick for this amount of time. And then I'm going to go back to work. And I mean, I had clients that didn't even really know I was sick. I had clients that didn't know I didn't have hair. I had dates that didn't realize I didn't have hair. So it was definitely the most challenging part of my life in my 30s for sure. And I feel that my past childhood and the things that I had overcome really gave me the ability to deal with this in a very pragmatic manner and to also help people around me who are going through it as well.
Yeah. And it really sounds like you took so much of your past and had this mindset decision. You made your decision that this is the mindset that I'm going to have to move forward. You've already been through so much. You've been through some extremely tough times that most people maybe go through one of the things that you've experienced in their lives. And, you were able to persevere through all of that. But it's just so unbelievably admirable that you made that decision. I'm going to make it. And this is the way I'm going to think about it. Yeah. As I said before, it takes a lot of courage. Is there anybody in particular or anything in particular that helped to keep you inspired during that time?
Good question. What inspired me during that time? I would say the thing that inspired me most is when I was doing my chemo, when I was doing my radiation, was meeting the people who not only were caring for all of us, the doctors, the nurses, but also the patients. There was a beautiful old man who used to go in front of me for radiation. And he actually had breast cancer, which I don't know if a lot of listeners realize that men can get breast cancer too. And he was elderly, and his little wife was there with him every morning right before me. And I would sit and talk with these people, and I would see them every day, as well as like all the nurses. And it just became this kind of family and a club that you were in. Not that everybody wants to be in the hairless club, but it just became kind of a little society of support for each other and joy and laughter and tears and fear. And I think that's where I really felt grounded during this because of those interactions with people who understood, who were in the journey with me as well, or had passed it or had just begun.
Yeah, I imagine that having just that sense of community and people who can relate and really understand and connect on a deep level with what you're going through, and where you can kind of be each other's support and cheerleaders and shoulders to cry on and laugh with, probably was so meaningful, just because no one would want to go through anything like that alone. I'm curious if it's okay for you to share where you're at currently in your cancer journey.
So I am cancer free now.
Yay!
Yay.
Yay! Thankfully.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And it is strange To think how long it's been. I was diagnosed in 2008. I did 5 years of tamoxifen afterwards, which is a type of hormone suppressor because of my age, because I was so young. And that's the thing I would have to say is having this experience really pushed me to become an advocate for myself. I feel that the way I was raised very religious. I was raised in a single mom home. And my mom was a very kind of girly girl. She was really about the role of being the little wife, being the pretty woman in the room. It wasn't more of, this is my life, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going. She kind of just floated through life in a way. And I think that having this experience, it taught me, especially with the medical field, the way it is right now, how to be my own advocate, to realize no one's going to put that little extra thing in there for you. No one's going to go the extra mile for you unless you ask.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. It reminds me of some experiences I have had in my own medical journey. I have not fortunately had cancer, but colon cancer runs in my family. And I had two uncles actually, that were diagnosed at the age of 36 on my father's side. And then my great grandmother passed from colon cancer. And so when I approached my doctors with it, they said, "Oh no, that's not close family. That's extended family. You don't need to do these tests." And I kept, looking at information and this little bug in my ear. And so I was able to push my doctor to have a colonoscopy at the age of 30. And I was fortunately okay, but they had me come back every 5 years. So at 35, and they found something. Fortunately, it was not cancerous, but then I have to come back every 3 years now to be checked. So I say all that because I really can relate to just the pushing and advocating side of things. And I hear so many of my friends and family who have gone through similar things. So I'm so happy that you pushed, and it's something that not everybody is comfortable doing. So I think that you sharing that is a really, really helpful just thing to get out there. I think there needs to be more awareness that you can push back with your doctors. And if you do feel that feeling, trust your gut and ask and push.
I really think that for women and in the medical way that things work, that yes, it's not just the pushing, it's also knowing your body. It's also being self-aware of things that, like you're saying, you had issues in your family. That's a catalyst for you to keep an eye on yourself. And that's the thing I think that I wish more women felt the ability to speak up, not to be pushy, but just to say, this is what my need is. No, I don't agree with that. This is what I need because I know my body. I know what I should be getting to help me in this moment. And it's really education, I think, and taking the fear out of, hey, this person knows everything and I know nothing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's an intimidation factor. And also depending on your culture, this, oh, well, the doctor, they're a doctor. So that's the final answer. Right. Um, and then
Definitely.
and then for you, the layered on factor that being adopted, you didn't have your family history. So, and you spoke on that earlier, that's even more reason to push.
100%. Especially being raised here in the United States as well. So when I was diagnosed, the doctor did say, oh, and by the way, she did call me after I had been diagnosed and left a message on my cell phone and said, "This is Dr. Beep, and I don't know what to say. I'm sorry." And she hung
Mm.
up.
How did that feel for you, receiving that?
In the moment, I felt vindicated, like, see, I told ya.
Mm-hmm.
But I also felt sad and disappointed that this was a woman that I saw once a year or more for my body, had just done a full physical that I believe January or February, and I was diagnosed in July. She and I had a great rapport. And I think in her mind, because I was Asian descent, 36, active, living a healthy lifestyle, she didn't think that there was any reason that I would be a candidate for cancer. So it wasn't, I think in her mind, she's like, forget it. I feel a lump, but there's nothing wrong with you. And after getting that phone call, people around me were saying, like, well, you should sue her. You should definitely go to the board, get her license taken away, la, la, la. And I just thought, I hope that this experience for her will never happen again,
Mm-hmm.
that she will take that in and think, oh my God, I will never like overlook another patient for the rest of my life.
Yeah, again, a wonderful perspective for you to take from that, for sure. So, other than recommending to our listeners to advocate for themselves, is there any other advice that you would like to share?
I guess the advice that I would like to share is everybody in life is going to have terrible things happen. And I really do think it's how you choose to go through them. And I'm not saying that I was perfect. There were definitely times where I was crying my eyes out. There were times that I was so sick that I didn't think I was going to make it. There were times that I thought, oh my gosh, I've had cancer. I'm 36. I'm never going to meet anybody. Nobody's going to want to be with me. Some people, when I was dating, would like flip out if I told them I was in treatment. So I do really think that with everything that I've survived in my life, the advice I would give to people and women is just to take one step at a time. That's all you can do is take one step, one foot in front of the other. And if you continue to do that, you really can get through anything.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have gotten through so much. I mean, you've talked about being a survivor, but I would also say that you are in the process of thriving through major transitions and trauma and loss. And it's just a very humbling example for me of someone who is extremely strong, having gone through so much. I'm curious to hear, where do you feel like you're at now with how you're feeling and your just overall sense of well-being or satisfaction in your life, your health, all of those things? Because it sounds like you've gone through a lot and you've come a long way.
I have, thank you. That's a good question. I would just say I have gone through a lot. Well, with the cancer journey, unfortunately, a lot of people don't really talk about the fact that it really is never over. And I'm not talking just about the appointments. I have side effects that have traveled with me the entire time and are still part of my life. So it is a daily reminder of that part of my life that I've gone through. But also, I think that my overall being has been a journey, just like it was in my 30s and in my 40s. I feel like every year I'm just trying to discover more about myself, teach myself, learn, try to find out better ways of dealing with things mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. For me, that journey really has never ended. I do not ever want to be stagnant. I don't ever want to be a person that feels like I've found it all and that I've got this down. It is a daily exercise of, like I'm saying, one foot in front of the other with everything in life. I definitely have had a lot of anxiety issues, depression, all of those things, not only just from the cancer, some of the medications and the chemos really do a number on you, but also from my past and my childhood. I've really spent more time, I'd say, in the last probably 5 years of really working on combining all those elements together and working on them in like all together pretty much. That's all I can say is that I'm just each element, my mental health, my physical health, my continuing issues with my body. And, as we get older, there's other things that crop up. Oh, I've got arthritis in my toe, or, oh, lucky me, my cholesterol's through the roof. So I feel like each of those things, you still have to learn how to overcome that. And then you move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and I mean, there are so many separate podcast episodes that we could do with so many of these topics that I think a number of people can relate to on so many levels. And I really appreciate you just being so real and so authentic about where you're at and how it's so relatable, that you're still in process and we're always going to be going through things. And it's just a matter of putting one foot in front of the other, like you said, and taking the tools that you have and having the perspective that you have from other things that you've gone through in your past and using those as you move forward, knowing that, we're going to have more stuff that comes up and we're going to have more transitions and things that we have to deal with in life. So I really appreciate you just being so open and real and sharing, the ups and downs through this journey. And I think there are so many pieces of what you've shared that can benefit and provide encouragement to others who are maybe going through something similar or have a loved one who are going through something similar. So it's been a pleasure and an honor just to hear you share your story. And I want to make sure that anyone listening knows where to find you. So I know you have a website, kikihouseofbeauty.com, and an Instagram handle, I think that is the same, Kiki House of Beauty. Is there anything else that you'd like to share for listeners in terms of where to find you or what's going on in your life now?
Well, on the bright note of my life these days, I actually, after 10 years of having my own little salon, it was always my dream, even when I was young, to create beauty products. And I was so fortunate that in the last couple years, with my blood, sweat, and tears, I was able to create Kiki Balm, which is my first product in soon to be many. I grew up kind of poor and I wasn't able to get my hands on the things that everybody else was able to buy a lot of times. And so my whole thing is creating professional grade products for everybody. So it kind of wipes out the fact that, oh, you have to have an esthetician's license, or you have to have cosmetology license, or you can only. And so that has been my thing, is that with beauty that I've been in for so long, I really want to have high quality things that are available to everyone. Doesn't matter what race, what color, where you live. It's something that is such a passion for me. I think being an adoptee, being an immigrant, being a woman, I feel like there's so many things that are held back for us, are held away from us actually. And I want to be the start of beauty that is for everyone, that is affordable, that can be found at your local store versus these elite places that you have to go to. So that's really been my passion over the last couple of years was bringing Kiki Balm to fruition. It's a pre-wax barrier balm that you can use at home for all the DIYers who love to do their beauty stuff at home, which is very much me. Or if you go to the salon and you've got your favorite waxer, you just pop it in your little purse or pocket and you bring it with you.
How cool. I love how you've really taken the struggles that you've been through and you're just so passionate about giving back and creating something that's accessible to everybody. Absolutely. I will be going to your website and following you. And as Stacie said earlier, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story with others. And maybe we'll have to have you back to share some of your other stories. I think you'll touch so many with this one and beyond.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you ladies having me on, allowing me to share my story, allowing to share my kind of dream and my hope and passion for the future of Kiki House of Beauty and Kiki Balm. And just really being able to share that my vision for everybody in life is just to realize that life is going to keep going. I guess as people, we always want an end to finish, but I've been realizing for myself more that each thing, each element of our life really is a continuing journey, that there really isn't an end. And I don't know, maybe that might scare some people, but I really do feel that the mindset of us makes such a difference in our journey through this life and overcoming these things, overcoming, but still continuing through them.
Yeah, so well said. I totally agree.
Thanks, Stacie and Brooke. I really appreciate you guys, and I look forward to coming on again. No problem.
All right. Thank you.
To all of our listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of Transforming and Thriving. We'll be back every other Monday with more inspiring stories. Please follow us on your favorite podcast app and follow us on Instagram so you can be a part of this community and stay up to date with each episode. Feel free to leave a review so that we can get your valuable feedback and other people can find these powerful stories. We're all in this crazy life together, so let's move through it together. See you there.